Hello, Miami. You're watching 305 Sports Now, your home podcast and channel for all things Miami sports related. I am Will.
I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want, and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no, I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for watching this morning edition of 305 Sports Now. And joining me today is the host of the Dolphins Thirsty podcast and also the host of the On Deck Baseball podcast, where you can find on the FTSN network known as the Phins Talk Sports Network. So joining me today to talk all things Dolphins and a little bit of baseball is Rob from the Dolphins Thirsty podcast. Rob, how's it going?
Oh man, can't complain at all. Thank you for having me, Will. It's a pleasure to be on here. You've had Courtney and Bobby, so I'm so happy to be here along with you. Filming this is awesome.
Thank you. Well, the funny thing is that we were talking before the show started, and you're a Boston Red Sox fan, and I am a Yankees fan, and we're having a pleasant conversation. So if you and I could do that, America can be saved and not be divided anymore as far as things go.
Yes, sounds perfect. And the funny how you say that, because my baseball podcast, I'm the co-host and the host is a Yankee fan. So
Nice.
Every Friday we have that combination going. So it's funny. It's
really, yeah. No, absolutely. So yeah, we're telling our stories. We'll get more into baseball later on, but you're telling our stories. We both have a similar background on how you became a Red Sox fan and how I became a Yankees fan, but we'll share that a little bit later on as the show progresses. So one of the things I like to do with my guests, especially your first timer, is to christen you onto 305 Sports Now, and I love doing origin stories. So Rob, you do a great job, by the way, on your podcast with Dolphins Thirsty and also with Courtney, and when you pop on with Bobby and the rest of the gang. What is your story? Like, what made you say, you know what, I'm going to wake up. I woke up one day and be like, I want to do a podcast on the Dolphins. So tell us your story.
Well, the easy part and the fun part is always been a lifelong Miami Dolphins fan. So if ever I was going to start, that's where I would start. But I never thought it would happen to me because, getting serious, I was police officer, December 9th, 2020. All of a sudden, I started not breathing well. Middle of COVID, everyone thought it was COVID. So we sent me home, tested for COVID. It was negative. And then, yada, yada, yada. I still had problems breathing. So I said, my whole family's, every man on my side of the family, both mother and dad, passed away due to heart. And they all started getting around my saying, hey, so I'm like, okay, let me see. Next thing I know, my cardiologist said, man, you're fit, but you may want to go see a pulmonologist because the x-ray isn't that great. Next thing you know, they're telling me, you better get on the transplant list. I'm like, what? Transplant list. So long story short, December 9th ended up being my last day working as a police officer. It's someone that was used to working 12-hour shifts, 14-hour days normally were the norm. All of a sudden taken from under me after 20 plus years, not to reveal my age too, but 20 plus years as an officer. They tell me, you're going to have to get on it. And before I know it, on a private plane to University of Florida's UF Shands, I get approved for the transplant after a pretty good process. Come back home. They let me home on breathing machines because this is how fast I started deteriorating, but good enough to go home. Had a breathing machine the whole way. And about 3 weeks after being home, I get the call late one night and they said, you've got there. And then I know I don't want to get too serious and lose all you guys, but lo and behold, I have double lung transplant, immune system's lowered. So I could never ever go back to police work to fill that void. So I'm like, what can I do with my time once I started getting healthier and could talk and walk and do all that stuff again? And then that's it. I didn't mean to get you too sad. It's great. It's a good story. I'm happy. I'm going to be walking in the 5K this weekend. So life is good. I just got someone else's lungs in me. And then maybe that helped me motivate because I was always shy in front of the camera. I said, I don't want to be seen. I don't need to be seen. on the camera. No one wants to hear my views, but when I saw other people do it, I'm like, you know what? If they can do it, I can do it. And lo and behold, here I am talking to you, loving every minute.
Thank you for joining us, and thank you for sharing your story. And we're glad to see you here. We really are. And it's you. I'm glad you caught that on time.
Yeah, I know I got fortunate. So
Yeah. So again, really glad and thank God you caught it and you're present and you're sharing your story with us, and also you're sharing your knowledge and your enjoyment of Dolphins content. One thing about this is another thing too. I think the reason why people gravitate towards us is because we're authentic. We're fans. We have our takes and we have our perspectives, and again, we each have a story of how we got here, and some different than others. And first of all, thank you for your service as a police
yeah.
officer over 20
Oh,
plus
thank
years.
you.
I know it's a very tough job. That gets underappreciated at times, and we're glad that you're fully recovered and you're giving us your takes and you're giving us your fins up perspective.
Yeah. Hey, thank you. Much appreciated, man. So it's been fun. It's good therapy to talk about the Dolphins. That's why you never see me get involved in all the craziness that goes on. That's something, you know what? I've already been through all the series. Dolphins are supposed to be a fun outlet.
Mhm.
Yes, they can make us mad because they always break us heart. But at the
Yeah,
end of the day, we all want the one thing. We want the Dolphins to win. And that's how
yeah,
I roll. I know we all want the Dolphins to win. We may have different opinions. And as I like to say on my show, unless Stephen Ross or Chris Greer are calling you for your opinion, we all have the same one. It doesn't mean anything. So it doesn't
yeah.
what we say doesn't matter. So why don't we just enjoy our each other's takes, and that's it. That's how I roll. That's how you roll. That's why I came onto your show, because you keep it nice, and let people have their views.
No, no, absolutely. In the end, listen, it's just sports. I mean, sports is a part of life, but in the end, it's a sport. It's supposed to be fun, supposed to be
Right?
entertaining. It's supposed to get us away from the reality that we have in our lives. So that's one thing. Mind you, I'm very passionate. Okay, I'm
Oh
very
yeah, I am
passionate.
too. Believe me,
I
I
lose
am
it. I
too.
lose my temper. This is me being calm because I'm not watching the game right now, whether it's Canes, Dolphins, or even Heat. More so the Canes and Dolphins because football's so intense. It's such a chess match.
Yeah,
But I mean, it's a sport. And in the end, we're helping people get through their day. That's pretty much
yeah,
the way I see it, and what the case would be. But speaking of Dolphins, it was a very interesting year. The Dolphins pounded a lot of the more poorer teams in the NFL, and they struggled against the top tier teams in the NFL. They averaged about 30. I don't have the number with me, but I think it's about 34 points per game, but they only averaged about 16 points against playoff caliber teams. So,
right.
what is your take, on the Miami Dolphins this season? What is your take on Mike McDaniel as a second year head coach, Tua a second year under his system, and the team and the organization as well?
Mike McDaniel, I like. Yes, there's some growing pains when you take a young coach, but now he's 2 years in, so there's definitely going into this third year. There's no excuse is for any mismanagement of the time, getting plays in too late. You should have this all ironed out. I still like him. Yes, is there outside of Andy Reid? What other coach can't the guy that lost to Andy Reid in the Super Bowl? People are second guessing him. So unless you win the ultimate game at the end of the season, you're going to have fans second guessing what you're due. And it's easy to play the result because we're like, oh, I wouldn't have run it there. I would have passed. And then when they pass, I would have ran it there. So it's easy to play the result. But overall, I think he's done well. Yes, to be fade down in the end, but I'm still drinking, this is water, but I drink the Kool-Aid still of Mike McDaniel because that's just, I think he's done a good job. Got us to the playoffs 2 years, his first 2 years in the league. He got us to the playoffs. He has not gotten us that much elusive playoff win, but hopefully, if we keep with him long enough, we will eventually get it. But he's going to be on the hot seat, just operating off of Stephen Ross' pass. He basically keeps coach 3 years, and then if they don't get it done, they're basically out the door. Philman got 3 years and changed into the next season before he was fired, and Dan Campbell took over for him. So, but basically, Gase had 3 years, Flores had 3 years, and now here, Mike McDaniel entering his third year. But I still like him. Tua, I know it's a lightning rod, so I don't want to jump on him right away. He is like, for whatever reason, He's one of the most polarizing guys in Miami Dolphins history. And I say that from a long history of rooting for the Miami Dolphins. I've been rooting for them since the early 80s and since like 1981, where I really felt invested in the Miami Dolphins, where they affected my mood for the day. So, and then that's how long I've been rooting for them, you know. So but yet, with all that said, Tua to me is one that it's like either people think you love him, you hate him, and there's like almost no in between. But I'm actually the definition of in between. I'm very moderate because he's my quarterback, so I root for him because he's on the Miami Dolphins, and he has had some good moments. He's also had moments he hasn't got it done, as you mentioned, against the teams with better records, especially in December. Going into January, we have to improve that. You can say some injuries affected some of the wins and losses, maybe some bad coaching decisions that we already touched on, you know, with our coach. But overall, I like the overall, you know, feeling. Would I accept an upgrade at any of at quarterback? Yes, but at the same time, Tua's our guy. I'm going to live in reality for right now. Rumor seems to be he's getting the contract extension. So as long as he's wearing the aqua and orange, he's my quarterback. I'm going to root for the best for him. But I'm not like two and on, as they love to throw that phase out there. I'm just a Miami Dolphin fan rooting for the guy wearing our laundry. And he has shown some promise. He's not the elite guy that we all wanted when you take a guy number 5.
Yeah, well, I agree with you. You and I have a similar take as far as Tua goes. I'm a big picture. I look at the broad picture, and I've evaluated Mike McDaniel's first 2 years. I mean, Mike McDaniel has beaten some tough teams. They beat the Buffalo Bills. They were competitive in the playoff last season with Skylar Thompson. They defeated the Baltimore Ravens in a very competitive football game. You know, his first season where Tua threw
Right.
for like 5,000 yards. It felt like, you know, in that game, especially in the second half. So there are positives with Mike McDaniel. Another thing I was sharing with Courtney was if you look at McDaniel in the sense of whatever happened with Flores behind the scenes, he kind of fixed. He made Tua a Pro Bowl quarterback. He made Raheem Mostert a Pro Bowl running back. The offensive line, as patchworked as it was, could have been worse. Austin Jackson had a comeback season. You can make that. You can make that analysis as well. The development of Devon Achan, the combination of Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle has looked very good and very potent. Probably the best one and two receiver duo in the league. So
Agreed.
there are positives with Mike McDaniel, and I think those are things you need to look at as far as the full picture goes. The only criticism I will have of Mike, despite clock management, is I do think against elite teams, he did roll the playbook back a little bit too much. I remember watching some creative plays when you face the likes of the Giants, when you face the likes of the Commanders, when you face the likes of the Jets. But it seemed to me he ran more of a base offense when he played the Buffalo Bills, when he played the Baltimore
Yeah.
Ravens, when he played the Kansas City Chiefs. I'll give you an example. When I was at the Giants game, and everyone in the crowd freaked out and didn't know what the heck was going on when he lined up Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill as running backs, and put Raheem Mostert and Achan at the wide receiver position, only to end up in a reverse. So I believe it was either Achan or Raheem Mostert. That play worked great because it totally confused the Giants defense. We saw nothing like that against, you know, the likes of the Bills and the likes of the of the Ravens or even the Kansas City Chiefs. We saw
Right.
whatever we could run. And I think that Mike McDaniel has to have what I assume a bit more confidence in his offense that he could run those kind of funky plays against top caliber opponents.
Yeah, no, you're right. We definitely played different games, and I don't know if it's just because we weren't that good against a good, or like you said, we just coached differently against them. And I think sometimes the pressure just mounts on the players. They always say they don't listen to the outside noise and whatever, but
But they
they
do.
do. And they always knew, like they said, oh, we don't listen to that. But almost every time we were playing a team with a, you know, they always mention that we haven't beat a team with a winning record, and they're going to say that until we do. So it's just, you know, they do listen, and I think sometimes we end up putting too much pressure on ourselves as a team. The team did this past year.
One of the things that's been a criticism of the team is the whole premise of all in. And the whole premise of all in is good, has its pros and its cons. The pro is you're a Super Bowl contender within the first couple of years, and you have a good shot at making it if you have the right personnel, if the scheme works, and everybody, you know, works together as one body, as a football team. The bad part is you set yourself backwards in terms of the draft as well. So right now
Nope.
the Miami Dolphins are in a precarious position. They have some guys they want to sign and they may need to sign, but they're not sure if the salary cap will allow them or if the quote unquote let's see, family friendly pay, a team friendly pay cut will kick in. For example, i.e., Xavier Howard, Christian Wilkins, maybe even Tua himself. So, what is your take as far as what the Dolphins have done in terms of investing in the now and not investing in the future, which they were in the beginning, but they've seemed to have gone away from that, especially when they brought in Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, I agree. They just kind of got away from what they said they were going to. Because if you remember when they announced that Adam Gase was got no longer going to be the coach, Ross more or less was set up the whole tanking talk because he said, "Oh, Adam wanted to win now. We're just not." He wasn't more or less on board with wanting a total rebuild and starting all over again. So that's what, and they said, but he goes, "We need to do it in the future from now on," because he said basically admitting that they had bought players in the past and that didn't work. So they were going to do a more sustainable way. They went and started getting draft picks for players, turned them in, to a lot of draft picks. They trade tons, so they do all of that. But then somewhere along the way, it just got thrown out the window. And then it's like F them picks theory of the Rams. Like, okay, now we're gonna go get Tyreek Hill, we're gonna get Chubb, we're gonna get Ramsey. The one thing about trading him, Ramsey wasn't in a high draft, but still, with all three of those players comes big contracts, and this is why we're in the mess now. You got a lot of top heavy contracts right in there, and it's just really puts you that window tight because it's just like you got so much in the top guys. And then with what you said, then all of a sudden from having multiple picks in a couple of years, we've gone the past 2 years of zero first round picks. Mike McDaniel, this is as long as we keep it, and I hope we do, this is going to be his first draft with a first round pick. And we have a first and a second, but then again, no third round pick and no fourth round pick. Third because the NFL took it. Fourth is because of the Chubb trade, final payoff for the Chubb trade. So you really got to hit Chris Greer. Is what I'm basically getting ahead of myself, but you got to hit. And you're right. I don't even think we know. I just don't think we have a good direction, really. I don't even think the Dolphins know we're going to build from scratch. It may take some time. And then, oh, no, we're all in. Here's our draft picks. Let's go win. So it's just a little frustrating. And then you pay Armstead. Listen, the man goes out there. He tries. But he's injured. He's never played a whole NFL season in his career. I give him kudos for going out there because he's always, every time you see him on the injury, it's like almost every body part on him is listed as hurting, but he goes out there and he plays. But again, you paid him the big money. And here we are sitting here on February 21st and our team is way over the cap. And by March 13th, they got to get under that cap. So, it's just a lot. So you're right. You said it perfect. And I just said a lot of words to add to what you said. If it's like a hodgepodge, all built by the draft. No, make big moves. So you're right.
Yeah, our acquisitions were fine. It just comes with a heavy price.
Yeah.
Um, in college football, there's an argument right now, and I'm going to talk about it next week. So, spoiler alert. I'm going to talk about it right now in my live show for next week. And there's a battle between what's better, getting transfer portal athletes or getting recruits. And I fall on the take of getting recruits because recruits kind of are more invested in your university than, let's say, transfer portal guys. So the purpose of the transfer portal for coaches is to fill those gaps from when you don't hit on recruiting. Let's say if you can't get a 5-star wide receiver because he doesn't just want to go to your school that year, or your offense wasn't that good, so he's not tempted to go to your school. This guy could develop me better. You get a guy and that didn't like being in another school before, you put him in your team, and there you fix that hole. That's the whole purpose of the transfer portal.
Right.
The same is set for free agency. The whole idea behind free agency is you're supposed to temporarily fix whatever hole you can fix in the draft. Whereas you take the benefit of having guys on rookie contracts, develop them, and then when the time comes, you hope to take a team-friendly discount because you took a chance on them when they were, young or in the later rounds of the draft and so on.
Right.
So I think that Miami kind of put themselves, because they have young guys. It's not like these are old vets. They have young guys that they need to pay. They need to pay Christian Wilkins. I was upset, and I thought it'd come back to bite them. They didn't extend them last year because they held, according to what I heard on the radio, they held sacks over his head. That he didn't have the sack numbers that, so and so defensive tackles had in other teams. Well, guess what? Their sack numbers picked up this year. So now you're gonna have to pay him some good money. Jalen Phillips you're gonna have to pay the young man as well. eventually you're gonna have to, pay Waddle. You're about to extend Tua as well. So you're in a position right now where these guys you drafted that you're supposed to pay, but you may not be able to pay because you're stuck with the Chubb contract. You're stuck with
Yep.
the Ramsey contract. So you're hoping you restructure that contract. Tyreek Hill was nice enough to redo his deal where it's more incentive based to make it a more team friendly deal. But not everybody's going to do that. So I think the
Yep.
Dolphins really have to figure something out. With the whole cap and so on.
No, no, you were 100% right. And touching on your college one, I'm surprised that you like. I know you like recruiting because Cristobal is good at that too. But he's
Yeah.
been nailing that transfer portal. He's always out there trying to get that transfer. But you do make a good point though on the transfer because when they're out of high school, they're all excited, like, oh, I'm getting recruited by this school, this school. Then it becomes more like either NIL and
Yep.
hit over there to the, and all that good stuff. So I never even thought about correlating it to the college. But yeah, you're right. It's changed. With that said, it is fair though that the kids can transfer just as easily as the coaches because coaches in the old days they could say, "Oh, come to my school," and they all then the next thing they go, "Oh, sorry, man, I just got a better job at Auburn. I'm leaving here. Bye." And the kids are stuck. They were
Yeah.
in the old days. They were stuck. I mean, they could transfer, but they would have to sit out the year normally and do all of that kind of stuff. Now they can say, "Okay, I'm out of here too." So
Yeah.
it's so to that it is fair, but with that comes, like you said, kind of a free agent mentality. And college football is going to be changing over the next few years because of the NIL and the transfer portal. It's just more. It was always like the minor league, but it's really going to be like the minor leagues to the NFL. It's just going to be guys taking money and playing for whatever school. So it is what it is, though.
Yeah, and the funny thing, you can make more money as an NIL than in some cases, depending on the school you're playing for and your value to the school, than you could, let's say, being the fifth round pick in the NFL draft. That's why Cam Ward decided to rescind his draft status and go to the Miami Hurricanes because he found out he was going to be like a second day pick or third round, fourth round tops. And he's like, well, let me go to a school that really wants me. I can, if I have the Michael Penix here, like they had over in Washington, I can
Right.
I can be at least a first or second round pick in the NFL draft to make better money than I would if I was a third or fourth or fifth round pick, coming out of Washington State.
No, you're right, man. It's true. It's good for them, and you will maybe see less people declare, early if that keeps on. I mean, the studs of the draft, first round draft picks, they're always going to come out because there's no reason for them because they can make that in the NFL contract and get endorsements from other things. So, but yeah, if you're going to be a later round pick and you can able to get NIL money that kind of equates to that later round pick, by all means, try to stay and improve your draft status.
Yeah. Well, I totally agree. I completely agree. So, like I said, I don't have a problem with the kids staying as long as they produce, for the school, and then they're ready and they could get better. Like there's some guys that I do think that they should have stayed an extra year. Like I think the safety, but they're gonna convert him to linebacker. James Williams should have stayed an extra year, but he decided to go with Cam. And Leonard Taylor the third, I thought should have stayed an extra year, only because he's had about three different defensive coordinators and his consistency in terms of his gameplay wasn't the best. I attribute it to the fact he had three different defensive coordinators. So I think a second year in the Guidry system would have maybe helped him out. If he has a breakout year, his draft stock would have been better because he's a freak of an athlete. He's as far as speed, as far as power, as far as shooting his gaps, he's really good. But he's had some consistency issues. And the previous year, Mario's first year, Kevin Steele believed in a heavy rotation, so he was constantly on and off the field. He didn't have a set time where he played basically, let's say, 75 or 80% of plays on the field. He was moving back and forth, a lot, and that kind of I
Yeah.
think also kind of softened his development a little bit, and that's why I wanted to see him kind of stay another year. But hey, to each his own. He might be a sleeper in the draft. They're all saying so.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes
Well,
for him.
let me play host for a minute. So since you
All right,
just did
cool.
all that big talk, so who are you more optimistic for the 2024 season, Dolphins or Hurricanes? Thinking that they have a chance to like make a really big impact and win. Well, in college now, 12 teams, I guess it is going to be in the playoffs. So do you think the Canes are good enough to be one of those 12 going into this year? And do the Dolphins have a chance to win a playoff game?
Yeah, I could give you a much better answer after the spring game. Only reason why, because a lot of the kids know their situation with their team, so you'll see
Right.
a lot of more people jump into the transfer portal. So by after spring, I believe in May or June, you'll get more set rosters across
Right.
college football. On paper, though, if you ask me on paper, I think Miami has a better shot. They have an elite quarterback. They have slot receivers that are very talented. They have a boundary guy in Jacoby George. If he can get out of his own way, he's a pretty good receiver. They've recruited very well at tight end position. If they use them this year in their offense, I think they will. They'll be able to do that. They have a top 5 offensive line in the country. I don't care if anyone disagrees with me on my comment section. The Canes have a
Yeah,
top 5 line in the country as well. The running back room is the best in the ACC as well, with Fletcher, Jordan Lau coming in. We haven't seen Travante Citizen come in, who's a top 3 running back before he got hurt. Coming out, I believe it was a 2022 cycle. He was supposed to go to LSU. He ended up picking Miami. Miami's second year coordinator, usually teams perform better under a second year than they do their first year. Miami was a very solid defense under Guidry's first year. It was like a top 20, top 25 defense. They'll probably
right.
ascend much better. So I think the Canes could have a better shot of making a run at the Dolphins, only because the cap again, the cap again is an issue. We don't know who's going to be on the team as well. So you'll have, if you bring in new players, it's an adjustment period for those players as well. And the AFC, it's Josh Allen that you have to run through as well.
Right.
You're gonna have possibly Aaron Rodgers playing as well. Aaron is better than a lot of quarterbacks in the league, even with
Yeah.
his age as well. So the Jets are gonna be slightly better. I predict the Jets will be slightly better.
Yeah.
And you still got Pat Mahomes, you still got Joe Burrows, and you still
And
got Justin Herbert.
Joe Burrow coming back from injury. I mean, this was
Yeah,
a year, I
so
mean, for the
it's gonna be
Dolphins. I
tough.
know it's just like we didn't take advantage of it. Joe Burrow went down,
Yeah,
Aaron Rodgers went down. Not that I ever want anyone to get hurt, of course, but when they do, you got to take advantage of it. And
yeah.
we
Mhm.
were unable to seize the moment. But no, you raised some good points about, like I said, I'm not a huge follower of college football. I just watch good college football. Kind of like the Gators because my son goes to UF. He's not a player; he's just a student.
Mhm.
But since my money and he goes up there, I kind of like the Gators. Been following them more than I used to, but I mean, I do keep an eye because I have the ear on the radio. Joe Rose talks about the Hurricanes a lot during the season. He gets Manny Cristobal on the show, so I do hear some takes. And your take on the offensive line, probably so because Cristobal, what did he play back in his days? He was a
Lineman.
lineman.
Mhm.
Yep, so he was a lineman. So he probably has that bond when he's recruiting with these kids. Like, hey, man, I know sometimes you offensive linemen don't get the love, but I know what it takes because without the line, there's no star quarterback, no star receivers, no star running back. So he knows how to recruit them for sure.
Yeah, as flawed as he is when it comes to game management at times, Mario Cristobal,
Yep.
he does understand the fundamentals of how to win football games. It's all about the trenches, whether it's on the offensive line or defensive line. If your offensive line is protecting the quarterback, opens up holes, you can do whatever you want on offense. It's the
Right.
sky's limit for you on offense. And the same thing, if your front four is getting to the quarterback, you don't need to blitz as much. You can stay in coverage and you can raise hell for the quarterback. So he understands like the fundamentals of what it takes to win a football game.
Yeah, I know you guys kill him for his game day management. I know, not you. I haven't heard your
Yeah.
take, but I know I see on Dolphins Twitter because a lot of them translate to Hurricane fans and Dolphin fans, just like you. So I see them and I go, man, he gets killed almost as much as McDaniel gets killed on
Yeah. But
calls and
McDaniel's
stuff.
had to take a knee.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that game, it was funny. I was watching. I walk away. I get in the shower. I hear my son screaming, "You know what? They lost." I'm like, "Yeah, get out of here!" He goes, "They didn't take a knee." I thought he was messing with me. He goes, "No." So now they do the modern TV, you're able to be. I'm like, "Holy crap! I can't believe he didn't take a knee." But hey, it is what it is. We all have our mistakes, and
Yeah.
I guess he hadn't learned because I guess he had done that at Oregon or something before
Yeah,
too.
I got into it with an FSU fan over that. The guy was trying to educate me
Yeah.
on what he would have done. Yeah, I'm glad it took you 5 years to figure it out. But he was like he was commenting, and the Oregon one had a bit more nuance. The reason
Okay.
being there was over a minute left on the clock, or Stanford still had a timeout in the
Oh yeah, that's
game.
a big
So
difference. Yeah.
yeah, so you can make a case he was trying to get a first down, and what he would have done with that afterward is
Unknown. Yeah.
is unknown because they fumbled and they
Yeah.
picked up the ball and Stanford ended up winning that game. So that's where they kind of like tied in. But there was no excuse for Georgia Tech. You were up by like 35 seconds. You take
Yeah.
a knee, you win the game. I asked one of my sources, I won't say who it is, and they told me that he said in the locker room that they wanted to finish strong. They wanted to finish tough. I'm like,
Yeah.
you got 6 yards and a fumble. That wasn't really a fumble because John Chaney Jr. was on the ground.
Yeah.
but you got 6 yards out of it. That you know, listen, I have a philosophy. I'd rather win ugly than lose pretty. That's
Yeah.
always been my philosophy. I'd rather win ten
Yeah.
six and get out with a W than lose
I know, but
forty-five
with that
forty two.
said, because I had been watching that game, and as ugly as it was, I said, "Okay, UM's gonna win this ugly game." That's why I walked out. And then when I hear him saying that, and I'm like, "Holy crap!" And then, but hey, the defense, is to blame too. With all that said, they still the defense let them right through them, allowing the
Yeah.
big. So it's like a little bit on them too. So it was it's just a team loss, bad play, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it is what it is, but I think he learned his lesson. I mean, he started taking
Yeah,
knees
well,
just to go to
he
overtime. So
he better have.
he-
Yeah,
I think he learned his lesson, in my opinion.
yeah.
Hopefully he doesn't try it again. The funny thing is that the day after, I believe it was a Giants game with the Dolphins, and when Mike McDaniel took a knee, the crowd cheered. It was a sarcastic
Yeah,
cheer for like,
yeah, I think that's right. No, you're right. I think I was actually at that game, so it
okay,
was yeah. So it's good. I would have to look at the schedule to see who we played right after Georgia Tech, but
yeah.
I
I think it was the
remember that.
Giants or the Panthers, one of the two.
Yeah, I was at both of those games, so yeah.
Yeah, one of the 2, but I think it was the Giants. That's the game I attended, and they took a knee sarcastically. Like, I was like, "Ah," "They took it, like."
Hey, it's all good, man. But hey,
Absolutely.
you have to have a little bit of fun in sports fandom. You
Yeah,
pay enough money, you might as well have some fun.
yeah. No,
So
no, of course, of
yeah,
course. But hey, hey, listen, you live the thing, and I'll move on. But just this last point, the thing that bothered a lot of people, that bothered me, is that I would understand if it was Mario's like second year coaching as a head coach, you make that blunder. But he's been a head coach for a while and 3 different programs: FIU, Oregon, and the University of Miami. So that was just inexcusable. But hey, but I think he's done. I think he's gotten killed from everybody from Twitter to Instagram to
no, I
ESPN, like, kept playing it on Reel over and over
oh, no,
again.
it went national for,
Yeah,
hey, UM was back in the spotlight, maybe for a bad reason, but for a
yeah,
day, they were the national talk around the sports college football world. And with that said, I went to FIU way before though they had a football team. I don't know why Garcia ran Cristobal out of there. To have Krista a caliber that coach that actually got him a ball, I
yeah,
still to this day don't know why he ran him out of. He must have an egg on his face or whatever because it had to be personal because I mean this guy went on to coach at Oregon, which is a
yeah,
big damn program, University of Miami, which is a big program, and they run him out of FIU. That's
yeah.
just it had to be weird.
Yeah, outside rumors that I heard were that they wanted to get Butch Davis, which ended up getting him later on. That was the
Yeah,
rumor,
they
and they didn't. They got, I think it was, correct me if I'm wrong here in the comment section. I believe it was, this guy's name, that he was the OC for the Dolphins and the head coach of the Chargers for a while.
North Turner,
North Turner, yeah, they got his brother Rod to
right?
replace Cristobal afterward. So that was and he was terrible. FIU also has its own issues why they don't have a strong football program as well. But
Uh,
Cristobal and Butch, they get him at the best height that they've been. And Butch was also let go as well. And Butch went scorched earth on FIU. Cristobal actually was offered the Pittsburgh job while he was at FIU, and he stayed loyal to the school.
that's
So
what everybody. Didn't he have like some run in with Garcia, or whoever ran the
he probably
athletic?
did. He
Yeah.
probably did. One of Butch Davis's biggest complaints that FIU is a cheap school when it comes to athletics.
Oh no, it
So
is. I mean, I went there before they even had a. They had a baseball team, and I think they had a basketball team, but
yeah,
I just never even went because it was more. That's where I miss. I'm jealous of my son living the college life and all that. But yet, if I didn't have a football team, it would have been great. So that's why I don't have that passion because I didn't go to a school with a big power football house. I grew up down here. I told you I was at the first ever University of Miami championship game in the Orange Bowl with Howard Snellenberger as the coach. Nebraska was like dominant team, the whole nation all year. UM got out a good lead. Nebraska comes storming back, attempt a 2-point conversion, don't get it. So I was at that game. It was a lot of fun. So I do have a history of rooting for the Hurricanes and stuff, but it's just I don't have the passion I do as for my Dolphins. But
yeah.
I still I like them. So I was there and it was fun.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, it's you still got it in you. You're
Yeah.
kind of tainted with that Gator blood right now because of
Yeah,
your
I
son,
know
but you
exactly, and
still
it's
got
fun.
it. You
I
still
would
got
go.
it.
Yeah, I would go every so often because you can
Yeah,
get hurricane tickets for like 10, $14 on game day. You go in
yeah,
there and all the stadium seats are good. and you're like, I don't care. Okay, let's go and go to the game. So sometimes it'd be a spur of the moment. We'd go, and because that's where I think lacks, and because they haven't been winning, and South Florida fans, if
Yeah,
you're
no, we
not
know.
winning, they don't really care if you don't, and because it's just when you watch when you go to UF had bad season, but all their stadiums packed every single time, even if they're playing the Sisters of the Poor, and it's just a great atmosphere. And that goes for all the big schools. And I think that's where lacks. It's like they need to get that winning atmosphere back because they can get loud in there when they win and get the big schools, but they don't show up when they play the Middle Tennessee State. I hate to bring that school up to you, but they just like, to me, that's where Hurricanes lack in that football atmosphere of like, the Georgias and the Alabamas of the world and the Gators and FSU and all those because it's a commuter school, so you're not going to get that, and it's not on campus, so you got to get the kids like a bus to get over to the school. So it's just not that same like these kids in UF. They wake up and walk out to the stadium, and it's just right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, it's just a different atmosphere. Like Gainesville, that's all they do. They depend on UF football. Over there in Georgia as well, it's just a different atmosphere. Miami's considered an event town, so if there's a big event coming like Notre Dame, FSU, Clemson, you'll get a packed stadium,
Yeah,
as well. But it is true. You have to win. I mean, Miami will let you know if you suck. I mean, that's the one thing the city will tell you. If you, with the exception of the Dolphins always get a good audience because you have such lifelong fans and they
yeah,
build so much with the community. But everybody else, the Marlins, the Panthers now picked up, even though they're 954, but they've picked up their audience because they've been winning as
yeah.
well. And the Heat took a while to earn favor, and
I don't
now
know.
because
The Heat used to get made fun of because of those yellow empty seats and
yeah,
everything,
not
and then
anymore, not anymore. They
I
sell
know
out almost
now
every
now
game.
it's like now they've built that culture and they've win.
Yeah,
But like I said, I don't know how all you guys follow all the sports. I'm football, baseball only, but I do know I'm not deaf. I do listen to the radio about sports talk. So unlike our podcast where we can pick the topic we want and talk about that only, they talk about everything. So I do know the hockey team's playing well. I keep on telling my son we should go to a hockey game this year. I'm literally minutes from. All I have to do is hop up on I-75, and I'm right there at the arena. So it's
yeah,
just I need to
yeah,
get there.
yeah. You're not practically neighbors.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah. Because I'm in West Pembroke Pines, but
So am
it's
I
like,
actually.
oh, okay. So yeah, Jimmy, are
Yeah,
really close
I'm
then.
not gonna out my home because my wife will kill me, but
Yeah,
we'll
same
talk
here.
definitely. Yeah, she'll kill me. She's a victim advocate and you're ex law enforcement as well, so you guys have that in common.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, I live in West Pines as well. I live in West Pines as well. So yeah, we're not that far from each other, and I like going. I actually like visiting. Going to where the Panthers play because I like the drive better, and I like the atmosphere around better
Oh no, it's great. It's so
than
convenient.
over in downtown. So
Yeah, no, much better. And I mean, I hope they never move to downtown Fort Lauderdale like there's rumor. So that's why I was
I hope
saying
not.
I know I like it, and I need to get there before they do. I know they're there for the next couple of years because it would take forever to do new arena, but it's right there. And I've been to one game since the Panthers been a team.
Why would you move? That place is perfectly situated. The event is great for concerts. It's great for kids events. You're literally minutes away. You're a 5-minute walk away from Sawgrass Mall. I don't
I
know
know
why
it's
you would
perfect, man.
think
People
about
go have a
moving.
meal at Sawgrass Mills and then
Yeah.
walk across and watch the hockey game. It's perfect, man. To me, it's perfect. So hopefully they don't go that. Hopefully they just stay there and whatever. But I need to get there because hockey's fun. I just never gotten into it being a South Florida kid, even though my wife's from Montreal. So she grew up watching hockey more than I did. I've been to a game in Montreal. I went to a Canadians game up in Montreal, and I've been to one Panthers game down here, and that's it. Those are the two hockey games I've been to.
Yeah, no, and they're fun. They really are. They really are fun. You gotta keep up with the puck a little bit, they really are entertaining. Rob, let's talk some draft. Okay, I know
Sounds good.
you guys on Dolphin Thirsty and the FTSN network are like draft gurus. I didn't give Mel Kiper a run for his money, from what I've heard watching you guys chat a little bit. Um, I went over this with Bobby and I went over this with Courtney, and the biggest name I'm hearing from a lot of content creators that focus a lot on the Dolphins, the draft especially, is the tackle from Oregon, Jackson Powers, and so on. Is he a lock to be a Dolphin first round pick from everybody thinks,
Yeah, he's
or do
more
you
of a
think?
like center guard type, but he is just really solid player. I think we all got the man crush on him right away because he's at a position of need for the Miami Dolphins because we got Connor Williams unsigned. He's a free agent. Plus, he's hurt, unknown status. I mean, if we do, he's one of the guys that we do re-sign. When's he going to be healthy? Because he got injured in that nasty Tennessee Titan games that we have to remember the Titans forever. That cost us basically the AFC East. That just made the night even worse. He got hurt. And our offense was kind of never the same after that. And it was a downfall. So to me, he's the perfect pick, man. That's how I have. I have him number one on all my one of my not for just the Dolphins, but I have him my number one center because I think he would be definitely a center on the Miami Dolphins if we get him. And I like him a lot. There's two centers I like in the first two rounds, and after that, I don't really have really. I don't know. The first two rounds to me is either Frazier out of West Virginia. He's another center. And I'm just looking at my notes real quick. Jackson Powers Johnson, the kid you said out of Oregon. He's everyone's favorite. He's a perfect fit for the Miami Dolphins offensive line. Unfortunately, a lot of, not that anyone knows because the teams aren't calling all these guys, but like Daniel Jeremiah of the NFL Network, he has him going before the Dolphins. So you're starting to see more and more because he wowed at the Senior Bowl practices and all that. So he is moving up those charts, it seems. But like I said, they're just all mock. I do mock drafts. So it's a mockery, basically. We don't know. No one really knows how it's going to be. But I just hate it when I start seeing trends that he's going higher and higher because we don't pick till 21. And I think Daniel Jeremiah in his mock draft today had him going 17. So pick 17. So, and he had us taking an edge rusher, which isn't because when you're considering that we don't know when Chubb's going to be able to back, we don't know when Phillips is going to be 100% healthy. Van Ginkel's a free agent, so he had us taking an edge rusher. So I'm looking. Who did he have? I wrote down a note, but he had taken. I hadn't even thought about edge rusher for. He had us taking. Oh my God, I'm going to screw up his name. Figures this guy. He had us taking a guy out of UCLA. I would just say his last name, Latu, because his first name is Latu or something like that. And he's an edge rusher. So that wouldn't even surprise me either. Because outside of quarterback, QB, not quarterback, that'd be the only spot that I'm like, what the? Because everything else is almost on the table, man. It's like, tell me another position because cornerbacks, would have been strong last year, but Xavier Howard, sorry, Courtney, if you watch this, but Xavier Howard is probably going to be gone, designated as a June 1st cut just for salary cap reasons alone, Courtney. That's it. And then, and he already
I didn't
said
say it,
that,
Courtney. That wasn't me this time. Give him Rob.
Exactly. And then he's going to be gone, like I said, June 1st. And then Cater Cole, who he stepped back he showed a lot of promise as an undrafted rookie. This year, he kind of took a fall back. Cam Smith, another Courtney favorite that we're hoping to be free, and we don't know though. He might be, and he might not be the guy. So there's a lot of unknowns. So I'm in a cornerback, and I know Phins stands on the Phins Talk Sports that we're going to be throwing his hat at the TV screen if we take a cornerback again with the first pick. But when I just mentioned some of those guys that we don't even know what the status is, if there's a good cornerback sitting there, there's so many. I know you got a couple other players you can ask me, but those are just the names. I mean, those are the positions I think of a lot, linebacker and stuff.
Well, if you can't get Jackson Powers, we try not to go that route. I do think Jerome Baker's probably not going to be re-signed by the Fins. So I do think that getting a linebacker that can stop the run, but also be in coverage would be not a bad idea. Jeremiah Trotter's one from Clemson. Another guy that was mentioned by Bobby was Cedric Gray, who I think is underrated, by a lot of people in North Carolina. He was a very serviceable linebacker. Reason why I say that is because it's a very deep draft in offensive linemen, and I gave the example of two linemen alone from the University of Miami that I think if they go to any team, they will be very successful right away. And center Matt Lee, and also the interior tackle Javion Cohen, who never gave up a sack in college, and in the Senior Bowl threw a Florida State, I think it was a linebacker or a defensive back. I don't know. I don't remember. It threw him around like a rag doll. So I think that if you don't want to go offensive lineman in the first round, there's a good chance in the second round you could be able to find a solid one
No,
as
I
well, and you won't miss a beat.
no, I agree. It just depends whether we need two, because some people think we need a tackle because of the
Yeah.
unknown status of Armstead. You figure, okay, Austin Jackson's they just attended, so you're okay. Extended, you're okay on the right side. Hopefully, you can bring Hunt back as a guard, but that's another unknown. He's a guy that, of all of our free agents, I think is one of the most vital ones to bring back because we finally get some cohesiveness on that line. And then, but all the way over on the left hand, you just don't know what you're going to get out of Teron Armstead. And Lamb, who's a backup, who played well for us, he's a free agent. So you have to maybe try to find him because if not, if you lose him in free agency, which is good, is before the draft, so you kind of know where you stand going into the draft. You may have to take an offensive tackle and a center type in the second round or something like that, or vice versa. Take a center in the first round and a tackle in the second round. So it's so many things that we don't know. And of course, if we do another show post free agency, we'll have a better bearing on what the Dolphins are going to want to do in the draft. Because right now we don't even know who we're going to cut from our own roster that's on the team, let alone who we're going to bring in the free agency. Because if you lose Wilkins and can't bring anyone on the defensive tackle, moves up the list of what you may need in the draft. So right now there's a lot of unknowns, Will, but it's always fun to talk draft talk.
Yeah, Fans sided has us actually picking the first round. Finstanza again will throw his hat at this one. Is the cornerback out of Alabama, Terrion Smith? What do you think about him as a potential Miami Dolphin if that's the case? I mean, again, we do have Cam
Well,
Smith.
yeah, I know. We got a lot. I saw because I wrote down a name, Cooper DeJean. Someone had us taking us in a mock draft to Ron Arnold, Alabama.
I'm
So
sorry,
this,
I keep calling him Smith. Ron Arnold. You're right.
yeah. So and then they, wow, I'm surprised they had him going that because
Yeah,
I've
it
seen
came
more
from
people
Fans
take
sided. They
him.
had their own mock draft, and I went with what they were
Yeah,
trying
because
to
I had
put
no. I
together.
mean, would it surprise me? Because, like I said, it would not. And like you said, Finstanza's going to be throwing his hat because he says if we take a cornerback, he's done. But he always says he's done, and he always comes back. So, Evan, you're the best. But anyway, this really is. Yeah, he's good though. He's really hit rate high. He's like the number one or number two cornerbacks on most people's list that I respect and watch. He's way up there. So it wouldn't surprise because of the aforementioned guys. We don't even know who's going to be back at the corner position and whether Cam Smith can play or not. So they know better than we know because they've seen every day in practice. Well, not so much the defensive staff anymore. They're all gone. But
Yeah.
McDaniel at least sees every day in practice. So he knows kind of what they have in Cam Smith, hopefully. And I don't know. We got a lot of needs for a good team, is how I would say it.
Yeah, one need that I think isn't even talked about but it isn't in a way is tight end. I do think that the Dolphins would be well serviced if they can get a third wide receiver and getting a George Kittle type into their offense. It seems like Brock Bowers is out of the question because he's going to go pretty high, the former Georgia Bulldog. Who do you think could fill that role, the George Kittle role that Miami desperately needs? Durham Smythe was okay, but he's not elite. He's not an All Pro or he's
I
not
don't think
a
this.
Pro Bowler.
Yeah, yeah, outside of Bowers, I don't even see a first round type tight end. I know the Sanders guy is okay. I got to look more notes. I didn't write a whole bunch of tight ends yet because outside of we only got two draft picks, and I just don't know if tight end. I'm talking about two where because in the fifth and the sixth and the seventh, you're really draft's already a crapshoot. But by the time you get to the fifth, the sixth, and the seventh, you're really throwing darts at. You're just throwing darts and hoping one of them lands on the bullseye that you nail it. Let's face it. So in the first two rounds, I just don't know if outside of Bowers, if I would even draft uh tight end. I mean, though it's a need, I agree with you. Maybe a veteran that can come in and help. Not going to be a stud, obviously, because of contract status and all of that good stuff. But that's one of the positions I haven't even looked into. I obviously Bowers. If you follow any college football at all, it's hard not to see him the past couple of years. The impact he can make on the team. But most people have him going top 10. I have seen him fall out of the top 10 a couple times, but I've never seen him fall into the 20s. So that's like you say, that's living a pipe dream. But really, outside of that, I don't even know. I would be able to better answer you in a few days on my tight ends takes, because I've been covering offensive tackles, centers, edge, linebacker, and corner. It's like those are what I really think the Dolphins need. But I agree with you; they need tight end. But for a good team, as I just mentioned, they have a lot of needs. Unfortunately,
Yeah. Yeah.
they do.
We talked about Leonard Taylor earlier as a possibility for the Dolphins. He was picked in the fifth round by Fansided. I think he's gonna go earlier. Um, what do you think about him? The former Miami Hurricane. Oh, and is there and if he it just this is if Christian Wilkins doesn't side with the Dolphins. If Wilkins side with the Dolphins, there's no need for an interior line, defensive tackle.
Yeah,
But if
no,
he
he'd be a
doesn't,
good. Yeah, you'd be right. He's a good fit if he makes it that far. Because, like I said, we got long gap between first and second. We go no third, no fourth. 100 players are going to come off by time we. Because I think our pick number 2 is 55, and then our next pick is 156. So basically, that means 100 players coming off the board. So any of those guys you just mentioned, if he's there and Wilkins is no longer here, pounce on him because it's just if he's the best player available at that point, if he's the best player available out of need, is even better. And that was definitely be because Raycon Davis and Wilkins could both be gone. So you're gonna need some defensive tackles, man. And it's tough. I keep on pointing out the sick draft pick, but we got 6 draft picks and a lot of needs and a lot of cuts to be made. But yeah, I like him. I think he can, is he gonna be Christian Wilkins? No. But can he come in and be a Raycon Davis? Yes.
yeah. I think it surprised you. He's not gonna be Christian Wilkins. Christian Wilkins was an athletic freak when he was at Clemson. So
Right.
when he was picked by the Dolphins, I thought he was gonna be a hit right away. So but he could be serviceable. Again, I really hope we figure something out for Christian Wilkins because defensive tackles, if you have a good one, they really do anchor your defense and they make everybody's life around them easier. Linebackers, defensive backs, etc. So
Yeah.
that's what I think they should figure out how to do it.
Oh, I know. Believe me, I want him. It's not from his just his play, but from his leadership, his energy, his off field, always going to all these events. He's always at one of the events for the dog. I mean, he's just a guy you want as an example of a leader on your football team. But here we are backed up against a wall and maybe not be able to keep him. It's a shame in my book.
Yeah, that was really a misstep by the Dolphins in the previous offseason. They could have signed him, and they held sack numbers over his head. I mean, they did give him an offer to be fair to the Phins, but they
Yeah.
told him, "They listen, your numbers are now. Guess what? Now the sacks numbers are higher, and with the cap also going up, he may ask for more money than he was originally commanding as well. So we'll see how that goes. I
I don't know.
think if anything,
Someone's gonna throw him. He's gonna get a bag of money. It's just
oh,
whether
he
it's
is. I just think the Dolphins might franchise tag him and then maybe trade him to get some picks in the process. That could be
yeah,
a
maybe.
possibility.
They have to free up the cap space for that,
Yeah.
and then that cap space freezes. So that's one of the reasons that's like if we had a lot of cap space, that'd be the best way to do. But we got to get under the cap, and but I hope you're right that they find enough to get far enough under the cap and at least get something out of them if you can't really keep them. At least get a pick, something, not just let them walk and nothing.
Yeah. He's also very durable. That's one thing we all forget about him too. He doesn't get hurt.
No,
He's very durable. And he takes a
no, and
pounding
that's
because he
one
takes out
of the
everybody's
things
best
that's a
center and
knock
guards.
on. Yeah, no, you're 100% right, real, 100% right. And we do take it for granted because we're so used in Dolphin Lando for so many other players getting injured. You almost forget about the guys that stay healthy because you're just talking about the injured guys,
Yeah.
and you just take it for granted. And he plays more snaps than most defensive linemen in the whole NFL. He's always out there, never gives up. I mean, he's really the kind of guy you want on a team. What can I say?
No, I
So
totally agree with you. Well, we're gonna move a little bit from football, okay, and we're gonna talk a little baseball. Yeah, I'm gonna let you lead on that one because I rarely watch baseball, because life and stuff like that. I try to keep up with everything. It's been very difficult.
yeah,
You host a very fun show called basically On Deck. Is part of the FTSN network, the Phins Talk Sports Network. On Deck, tell us a little bit about that. How did it come about, and what is expected of your show when the audience would love to see?
yeah. Well, we just started tomorrow. I mean, this Friday at 10 a.m. will be our third episode. I always wanted to talk baseball. Bobby always wanted to have a baseball show, but he was looking for a host that could be the main host. I'm the co-host. I actually, do some of the producing on the back end of it, but he's the main host, and his name's Russell Morgan. Very used to be a scout back in the day, and for baseball, really knows his baseball through and through. Really nice guy. So we've hit it off. I just met him recently, and now we've done 2 shows. We're about to do our third show together, but it just came from me loving baseball, me dropping hints to Bobby every so often that I would love to do a baseball show, and he kept it, I guess, in the back of his mind. Bobby, he kept it back in there, and he came and said to me, "Hey, I found a guy. Would you be willing to do baseball shows on, say, a Friday morning at 10?" Which I normally do a lot of my own shows at 10 a.m. because it fits into my schedule. And then I said, well, I can, maneuver it when I do my Dolphin shows on other days other than Friday. So I go 10 a.m. on deck baseball podcast with Russell Morgan. We talk all baseball because he's a Yankee fan, like I said, and I'm a Red Sox fan. But we've already broke down the American, league stuff, off-season moves, and the National League off-season moves in the second episode. This week, we're going to just be making predictions for like division winners, Cy Young, MVP, and stuff like that. It's just all baseball, man. We love baseball, the two of us. And I know it's not for everyone. I know it's unfortunately the numbers are dwindling from the fandom of baseball. But to me, baseball will always be right up there with football. I played baseball so many years. I love it. It's a passion of mine. And to me, I live on every pitch of my team, just like it's every snap of the football when the Dolphins have it. It's like every pitch of the Red Sox. And the Red Sox aren't even going to be that great this year, unfortunately. But
Yeah.
it's just all baseball. It's all good, fun baseball. There's no set because my show is only Dolphins, and there's other people that have only this or only that or only Heat. This is all of baseball on the Phins Talk Sports Network. We're going to cover everything. So it's going to be fun because I kind of get what I do with my Dolphins. I kind of get Red Sox centric. I only worry about the Red Sox. I buy the MLB package to watch the Red Sox. I get on Red Sox websites, but now I find myself looking more on MLB.com type stuff, looking for all the teams so I can be able to talk about all the teams. Because before the past couple of weeks, I'd be like, tell you everything about the Red Sox, but now I know, some of the good off signings of the season and all that. So it's fun. It helps you learn, and it's just fun because then it's something you have a passion for, and I love it. So I'm looking forward to it. Only the third episode, trying to build that audience. We may put it in the evening sometime. It's all about timing, though, between Bobby's channel, Russell's time, my time, and finding a spot to put the show. But right now, it's on Friday mornings, 10 a.m. It's good baseball. Check it out on the Phins Talk Sports Network.
That's awesome. It really is. I like your promo, I like your explanation and the way you broke things down as far as what your shows bring about. I love baseball. I just have trouble watching it, because of time and scheduling and things that are going on. So that's a big thing with me. But I do love baseball. Again, we shared our why you're a Red Sox fan and why I'm a Yankees fan. And I told you, funnily enough, one of the worst rated sports movies of all time, The Babe, is what made me a Yankee fan. So I be that I think the movie came out the year of the 70th anniversary of the called shot, if I'm not mistaken,
Oh,
by
okay.
Babe
Oh, I
Ruth.
remember the movie. Yeah, I
Yeah,
know.
I think that's why, because of that during that time period, a lot of Babe Ruth movies, TV movies, and John Goodman's movie came out. So they
Yeah.
were, I guess, they wanted to do something Ruth likes. But I made me a Yankee fan. I became a Babe Ruth fan.
That was,
Became a
yeah,
Yankee fan.
John Goodman was Babe Ruth, right? You
Yeah,
said,
he
or
was. He did a great
yeah,
job playing Ruth as well. The movie didn't get the critics didn't
yeah, I
like
know
it
it.
too much, but I liked it. It made me a fan. So that's pretty much my story of how becoming a Yankee fan. Your story again. We also had glitches before we started. We waited a little bit to start a recording to make sure that things got all set. What's your story of being a Red Sox fan again?
Like, I just grew up in South Florida, old enough that I was way before the Florida Marlins became now the Miami Marlins. But before the Marlins were a thing, I picked the Red Sox as a kid because, in all the youth baseball league, most of the kids down here just picked the Yankees just because they were the popular team or because mom and dad came from New York. Who knows the reasons? But so many people picked the Yankees. So I'm going to pick the Red Sox. I'd be different. And Jim Rice was my first ever favorite player. Hall of Famer Jim Rice, number 14 for the Boston Red Sox back in the day, one of the retiring numbers for the Boston Red Sox. He was my favorite player, and I've just been a Red Sox ever since. And I had to watch the Marlins, your Marlins, or not your Yankees, but like Bobby's Marlin, win 2 World Series. Like, oh my God, this new team comes into the factor. My team hasn't won a World Series for 86 years, and the Marlins come and win 2 World Series while my Red Sox don't. But now the Red Sox, my dedication to them has paid off 4 times champion since 2004. So it's a pleasure to see them finally win. We just need our Dolphins now to finally return my faith to them and start winning some Super Bowls because the Red Sox, hey, 2004, 2007, 2013, and 2018, they won the World Series. So what more can I ask for? They're going to be down this year. They're being kind of cheap, but hey, they brought, how picky can I be? They actually won for me 4 times since 2004. That's unheard of. It's great. I mean, what can I can't complain.
Yeah, the broken curse of the Bambino came at the expense of the Yankees when they blew an 0-3 lead against the
Oh,
Red
I
Sox.
love it, man. I watch that 4 nights in October all the time, man.
I was in college and at FIU at the time getting my graduate degree, and I had a buddy that we were study buddies, and he was a Red Sox fan, and he thought that the Red Sox were gonna blow Game 7. He's like, "Oh, something will happen where someone drops a ball," and but that's just the way that the history of the Red Sox was.
Yeah.
They mistakes were made and whatnot, and nope, that team was very determined.
No, but for a minute, man, I was like, when A Rod slapped our guy's ball out of the hand, I just saw the ball rolling down. I'm like, no, but then it came out that A Rod kind of gave it the cheap shot, and we got it reversed, and it came out to our favor, and the curse was reversed. To me, I love that, man. It's just to me, it's like so much. And going back to my job, I was still a cop, and we, like a lot of offices, we all got little mailboxes just with our last name, and anyone, it's not private, anyone can stick any. So I worked with 2 Yankee fans back in the day, and they brought they those little handheld brooms. They stuck it. They get premature, you fools. They stuck the broom in my box after Game 3 and says, "Here, you're going to be needing this because you're about to be swept." I didn't say anything. I said, "I'm not going to go in there," and because and they both signed it. It's not like they were going to hide who did it. So I said, "Okay, I'm not going to say anything because what can I say? My team's getting butt." After one, I said, "Oh, I can talk crap now because we haven't." But I go, "No, I'm not even going to say anything." Then boom, 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 and then after we did the story, I wrote a note back. I signed it to the one guy. I go, "But make sure you share this with Al too. Um, I won't be needing this. Wipe away your tears with it instead." So I go, "Don't celebrate before it's over, buddy." So I thought it was over too, but then I got to act cocky after the big comeback. I thought it was. I mean, let's face it. I thought it was over too. I'm not gonna lie, saying I knew they were gonna come back because my first one was, let's not get swept. Then boom, okay, we didn't get swept at least. Okay, let's not lose at Fenway. Let's not let them dance on our field. Boom, that didn't happen. Then I said, okay, you know what? We're probably going to go to Game 6 and we're going to get, curb stomp. We're back in Yankee. Then we win. And then Game 7, we just really took control. And it was, basically it was good, man. I couldn't believe the comeback that the Red Sox did. To me, it's great. I know to you as a Yankee fan, it stinks, but man, you guys had a
Sucks.
lot of winning. We
I
needed that.
know. I
We
know.
needed that. So it regenerated a fan base. Generations of Red Sox fans passed away without ever seeing the Red Sox win
Yeah,
a
it's true.
World Series. So it was great to see, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's sacrilegious as a Yankee fan to say this, but I was a Ted Williams fan. I like the old school baseball players
Oh no, Ted
back in the
Williams to
day.
me is like the greatest hitter from,
Yeah.
obviously I didn't see him play, but from what I've read and studied, he's like best hitter probably just per hitter, not just
Yeah.
talking only power, this and that, but just total hitter. A guy that if you want to make contact, man, he's like one of the best ever to you know get between a baseball diamond.
Yeah, so he was. I was a big Ted fan. So I mean, I like those old historical guys. I think they brought a lot to the game. Baseball's an interesting sport because people care about nostalgia in baseball more than they care about any other sport. Like records fall in baseball, and we're
Oh
arguing.
no, yeah,
Records
no,
fall in
for
baseball,
sure.
and
That's
we're
why the most.
arguing about no, it's because they're on steroids, or it's
Yeah,
because the baseball's changed. But it's a live ball. We don't hear those arguments really in football. Even though they've made changes to football to make the offenses more much
Yeah,
better, have
definitely
more
more
yards.
offensive friendly now in football. But
Yeah,
yeah, you're right. No one argues over, oh, that's not a real record. In
yeah,
baseball, yeah, it's whatever, forevermore. It's
yeah.
just whatever be that way.
Yeah, because
So
it's funny though because when the movie The Babe came out, I remember it said at the end of the movie, Babe finished with 714 home runs and Hank Aaron finished with 755, but he broke at 715, and they said, but he had much more at bats than Ruth. They made sure they ended it with that line,
I
that
know, yeah. No,
like
that's true. I know they always have that, and that's what people would say because Aaron did play along me. He's still, to me, he's like the real champion and home run guy.
me
But
too. I agree with you. Oh,
yeah,
totally. I
but
totally agree with you.
it is what it is. I mean, you know, and it's crazy that like all-time home run leader and all-time hit leader guys aren't even in the Hall of Fame. So it's only in baseball.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think that the individual who's the all-time home run leader now, I think kind of is not a ver- was that was very gracious to the fans and the press, and it's come back to bite him. And it's one of the main reasons
yeah, I know. I think so
why.
too. Because I mean, in all honestly, he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. But with that said, he knew what he was doing, and he was mean to the press. Because I know some people throw accusations at my big poppy who made it in there, but he was always very accommodating, very laughing, and all that. And he never, officially tested because they did like some preliminary tests way back in the day.
Yeah,
So there was rumors he was one of the ones that had failed it. It's when they decided to show them for real. But I mean, you can see the difference in Barry. But if Barry Bonds had never touched the steroid and just played out his career, he would have been a Hall of Famer. But he just started, you know, doing it, and you could see he just became like, he became bloated. It's just, it was like,
well, his helmet didn't fit him anymore.
I know,
Like your head doesn't grow when you gain weight like that, and his head just didn't fit. It was just free, and then you're not supposed to be better past the age of 35 than you were in
yeah,
your 20s. It's just
no,
it
I know,
just
and
it's
his
feasible.
numbers went crazy.
Yeah,
I think he probably got mad like when McGuire and all these guys were breaking all the, getting all the publicity. He said, "Oh yeah, match that and beat you guys." When
yeah,
Schultz and Mark McGuire were banging home runs at a record pace, and then he says, "Okay, I'm gonna follow this up and beat both of you guys." So it's it is what it is. It's just you're like you say, baseball is always going to be that game that just gets people talking more for records because
yeah.
it's such an old game. And some of those records, in baseball just are historic. And it's just people got upset when new guys came in and started breaking them all.
Yeah, no, I agree. I totally agree. The home run face off between Sosa and McGuire helped save baseball. Its audience was
Oh,
not very
no,
happy
for
because of the
sure.
strike, but I love McGuire, because when I was a kid, the A's, the Smash Brothers, and being a Cuban American, Canseco was sort of a hero early on, not
Oh, believe me, I know
afterward.
they named a street after him for a
Yeah,
while.
they removed it. They removed it. It's
I
now
know they
Ram Road.
removed it. I know they took it away, but
Yeah, it took it away from him, and, even though he was right about everybody, but, you know
yeah, I know. It,
it was but I liked McGuire, and I kinda wish it didn't happen because the way it was done, with the performance enhancers and whatnot, and Congress having to get involved in that process and getting involved in the sport, but it did
I
help.
know. I mean, I blame baseball because they knew what they probably know. I can't say they for sure, but they more or less knew. But they know, "Oh, this is too good for ratings, man. We're not going to squash it. Everyone's hitting homers." They had to know something like, why all of a sudden these guys hitting homers at a record pace when no one had broke the record for 50, whatever, since Roger Maris had the record, and now these guys are smashing them all of a sudden, both in the same season. They knew what was going on, but they also knew it was selling tickets. Like you said, it was coming off people being upset with the players being out. And it's just, they weren't going to say anything. And then they only said anything when they started getting the dirty words, started making the media and stuff,
Yeah.
then they care. Oh, now we care, you know?
No, I mean, absolutely, but, it happens. It is what it is. Like I said, I still think baseball's a great sport, and they've made some strides in terms of in terms of cutting time, so it doesn't seem like you're there for 5 hours, at a game. The pitch clock and so on has been very good, and how many times you could leave the batter's box, if I'm not mistaken, is also limited to the ball players as well, if I'm not mistaken. Also a new rule, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, no, it is, and only can throw over to first base twice on a runner while the batter's up. So it's there's different rules and the pitch clock. And I think it maybe brings some fans back. None of them really. The big bases is kind of weird, but to me overall, I think the new rules are anything that helps eyeballs because I don't want baseball going anywhere. I want a lot of people watching it,
mhm,
share my passion with more people. So if they think those rules can help, you know, it is what it is. I didn't mind the long games or whatever, but it has sped up the games, and it does, especially our old Red Sox and Yankee games, man. You would have like some 4 hour games, and it would be a 9 inning game, and before almost getting to 5 hours because both teams were notorious for hitting well and taking pitches if it wasn't a strike. So it's like, you'd be there all night. So that does help that out. And there's some rules that, you can't throw over the first too many times because once you throw, if you go throw, if you try to go, he gets a free base after the second time. So,
okay.
so there's all kind of little twinks like that. And maybe they will, fix it in the long run. But to me, overall, hey, if it helps the game grow, I'm for it.
Yeah. Before we go, you just brought something up. Before we go, do you think, because there's some unwritten rules in baseball, like don't throw the bat, and so on. Do you think, especially with the younger generation, that some of those old rules are a bit archaic and the entertainment aspect, things like we see in football, guys dancing and celebrating
Yeah.
the end zone? Do you think that should be more accepted now and not seen as
Yeah.
frowned upon?
Yeah, I think it is more and more becoming accepted because these guys, the pitchers are getting used to it, and everyone loves to stare at their home run ball and they flip the bat. So I think they're getting more, and you see now and you see more pitchers. They're like, okay, if they can do it, if I strike you out, I'm going to go yelling off the mound on the third out of the inning. So that should be accepted too. It's just, it's the passion of the game. I'm fine with it. I'm old school at first. I was like, oh, I don't know, man. Just hit the ball and run. Because I remember Manny Ramirez one time made me so mad. He sat there watching it, and then it hits off the top of the ball, and it's only a single. If he would have ran it, at least it would have been a double. But he thought it was gone, and he's admiring it, and then he ends up with a 350-foot single. So it's just like moments like that. But hey, if you know it's gone, Devers, Deverson is my current favorite player. you know, and he's so much fun, and he's famous for watching his home runs. So it's just it
Yeah.
happens, man. You know what? It's not easy to hit a ball that far. So
No,
if
it's
I
not.
could do it, I think I would want to watch it too.
Yeah, I remember old Ruben Sierra for the Yankees would pull out his jersey whenever he hit a home run. That was his
Yeah,
stick.
yeah, that was just some simple stuff. Yeah, he would
Yeah,
do that.
he would pull his little
Yeah.
jersey and so on. So it's pretty
Now there's
funny.
like big bat flips and everything.
Yeah.
So
Hey, listen, it's like don't throw a pitch that gets jacked up. I mean, it's just that's the way I see it. I mean, pitchers get mad, they throw at the guy, they throw at the guy behind them, or they throw at the guy when he comes out. Just don't give up a home run. That's the way I see it.
no, I do too, man. And I like I say, I think baseball is more accepting to it now, and I think the younger pitchers are. They may not like it because they're already mad that they gave up a home run, and they look at the guy staring at the ball, then doing a big. So of course they're going to be a little upset. But I think the generations are used to it. They probably already see it in the minor leagues as they're working their way up. They're used to it. They just know that people are going to backflip, and it's just to me, I like it. I'm with you, Will. I like it. It's part of the game. It's fun. I don't like it when it's the other. It's funny when my teammates, oh, it's great, and then when the other team, oh man, just run the bases. So, but
Man,
it's fun.
man, I remember when I was in high school, or when I was I can say the name of the coach, but I remember not when I was in high school. One of the it was my Mavericks Carl Park. One of the pitchers I think got cute. One of the batters got cute. When he hit a home run or something like that they threw at him, and it was almost a brawl. And
Oh
everyone behind us
wow.
was aesthetics. Yeah, it was crazy. And then the coach had to talk about what happened, after the game because they're kids. But it was pretty to see how even in the high school level they were trying to honor those rules and so on. It was crazy.
So you went to school in Dade County?
Yeah, I went to Coral Park. That's how I know
Uh,
about the changing of Jose Canseco Street to Ram
yeah,
Road.
I know.
'Cause I used
Yeah, I
to
was in that area, but I went to
yeah.
Southwest.
Oh, I taught there for 12 years.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay.
That was my
Oh,
teaching job
cool.
for 12 years there, and I moved now to Westland Hialeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, I went to Southwest, home of the Eagles, Purple Pride,
Yeah.
so
You probably went to school with one of my closest friends who's also a former police officer.
what's
Alex Hernandez, do you know him? Alexander Hernandez?
I don't
You
know.
guys are about the same age. He might be a few years older than you.
I know a Gus Hernandez, but I don't know if I know an Alex. But yeah, I went. But I was in the '80s, late '80s. I
Oh,
graduated
late
from.
80s? Okay, yeah, he's a little older than you. He was, I think, maybe early 80s or something along those lines.
Okay, yeah. So there you go. So
Yeah, because he's about, I think he's 50, late 50s, and you're in your mid 50s. So yeah, I know you guys are a few years apart. So yeah, you
yeah,
would, yeah. So but you're
yeah,
very close though. Yeah, it's a
yeah.
small
I
world.
am. Yeah, I know it is, but it's fun. So yeah, and it's been a long time, but I think it's 35, 36 years since I was there. But man, it was it was a good school back then. Back then they didn't even have air conditioning. It was just starting to put air conditionings like in all. They had in some some excuse me, but not all the rooms had air conditioning. This is like in the '80s. You thought every school in Dade
Yeah,
County, but then they got to the point where they found it was an older school. And now when you worked there, it was probably really an older school.
yeah,
So
yeah. When I left, they've redone the entire school. You wouldn't recognize it now. And
yeah.
they got rid of the fourth wing, which was needed to go, and then they built Building 5, which is, I think where the old, driver's ed area used to be, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh,
They built Building
okay.
5. Yeah, they built Building 5, and they basically, they tore the whole school down and rebuilt it.
Oh wow.
When I was there, it was old. The air conditioner would leak,
Yeah.
as well. It's still in the 80s. It would leak. They're probably gonna kill me right now for talking about that school. Whoever watches this podcast, but whatever, it is what it is.
If
They
they
don't have
happen
to
to
talk.
find it, hey, is it still Andre Dawson baseball field?
Yes, it is
Or
actually. It is. It's still named after
they
Andrew
named
Dawson.
it when I was there. So whatever those years, they actually named it Andre Dawson. They made a big ceremony about it and everything. It was cool, and he
Yeah.
showed up to the school
And he
and
contributes to the
everything.
school too. He shows up. He's talked to kids. He's a very nice man. He's very
Yeah,
communal. He's down. I
yeah,
met him a few times as a kid. He actually went to Coral Park to talk to us when I was there as a student. And I think he visited a couple times at Southwest to talk to the players as well. So he's very communal
yeah.
as
Hey,
far
he's
as
probably
mentoring.
Southwest's most famous graduate, at least so
Yeah, yeah, I believe he is. I think there's a couple more that I'm not remembering right now that they brag about. Um,
I know
but
some broadcaster went to Southwest, but I don't know, or
Yeah,
someone
I just
else.
can't remember who. There was one, and I think a politician as well went to
Okay.
Southwest as well that I can't recall, at least for a short time. So that's another
Yeah.
one too. But yeah, but you wouldn't recognize it at all, Rob, if you went there.
I
It's
gotta
like a
go down there because yeah, I grew up right down the street from it way back
yeah,
in the day. So I mean, I could walk. I walked there. I mean, I walked home and walked to school. And so it was that close and stuff. So
yeah. So just so you know, if you had him as a history teacher, Amos Connors retired finally. 40 years. I don't know if you remember him. He was a history teacher. He did
what
40
was his
years
name?
in Amos Connors.
I don't think I had him. My history teacher, I'm trying to think, was Sheffield, not the baseball player, but it was like something Sheffield, and then
Yeah, yeah, he was gone way before I got there. I know what you're
yeah.
talking about. They used to talk about him before.
Yeah, but I don't know. I forget who else, man. But no, I don't. I'm horrible with names. Like if I would see their picture of my yearbook, like, oh yeah, I know that teacher.
Yeah.
But as far as names, I'm horrible.
Yeah,
So
he did
it-
40 years in that school.
that's crazy. Hey,
40
that's
years.
dedication, man.
Yeah,
You find not only do you stay in the Dade County school system, you stay at the same school for that long.
I know. And it's hard, especially in today's world where you have a lot of charter schools and teachers get moved around because enrollment drops.
Yeah.
So it's hard, so but yeah. Well, it's good reminiscing with you, man.
Yeah, I
Man,
know. I know. I just looked
we
at
have
the
a lot
time.
in
I
common.
went longer than I thought we were gonna go. So
Yeah, but it's cool, man. It's a good time. I love doing this stuff. It's a lot of fun. I love talking sports with people like yourselves and Bobby and Courtney and my friends that you heard like Benny and Chalupa and so on as well. So Rob, thank you once again for joining us. If you want to check out more of Rob from Dolphins Thirsty, check out his Dolphins Thirsty podcast. He has a bunch of episodes on YouTube, and check out his podcast On Deck as well, which is part of the Phins Talk Sports Network. Also makes various appearances with Bobby as well, and when he's on in the Phins Talk Sports Network as well. Ladies and gentlemen, if you like what you heard, please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to 5 Sports Now. And don't forget to subscribe to Dolphins Thirsty. And don't forget to subscribe to On Deck. Don't forget to subscribe wherever he's involved, Rob, and also Phins Talk Sports Network, which is a great friend of this show. God bless you guys. See you soon, and Fins up. Bye bye, guys.
thank you, Will. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you very much, sir.